Hi, I'm Rachel Olson, founder of Best Mom Products, where mompreneurs share their adventures in business. Today I'm talking with Kim Blanding, founder of Gift It Green, which is a line of eco-chic fabric gift boxes that are reusable, fun, and unique. They do not require scissors, tape, or waste. Today we'll hear how she came up with the idea Christmas Day when her son was unwrapping presents, and how she used her corporate experience as a brand manager and product developer to create her line of boxes. She'll share valuable information on how what she thought was her target market wasn't, how she realized it, and what she did to change her product to meet her customers' needs. Welcome, Kim. Let's get started.
The idea came to me my son's first Christmas. It was 2007, and our family loves to have a big Christmas celebration. We had 4 huge black trash bags full of wrapping paper and gift wrap. And I thought there's got to be another way to have a fun way of opening presents, which opening presents should be a blast, but without all the waste.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your product so people can understand what it is.
Sure, here, I'll show it. That's probably the easiest way. It's, imagine a beautifully wrapped Nordstrom gift box with all the bells and whistles, but instead it's 100% fabric. So it's got a really fun, modern design. It's cotton on the inside. It's got Velcro. It sounds like paper ripping. It's got multiple layers, which is one of the most fun parts about opening a present. And then it has this fake eco-chic tissue paper that sounds like tissue paper. And then on the inside, you track all the cities it's from. So it was designed in Chicago, so it starts in Chicago, but the idea is you would gift it forward in San Francisco or wherever it may be.
Great. What a great idea. So tell us a little bit about your background and how it impacts your business now. You are a brand manager and a product in product development. Can you tell me a little bit about where you worked and how that helped you in your product?
Sure. My job was coming up with ideas. I worked at Walgreens and I worked at Unilever and a variety of different categories. But my job was coming up with new products, launching new products. So when I had this idea in 2007, it always kind of stayed in the back of my mind. But I always had new ideas, so I thought this is the one idea I kept on coming back to. And so when Unilever ended up moving up to the East Coast, I didn't make the move. And I decided to try launching this on my own. So this was a year and a half ago. And it took quite a long time to actually launch.
Yeah, so what was one of the first things that you did when you decided this is the product that you wanted to move forward with?
Well, starting in 2007, I did a quick competitive research. I just wanted to see if there was anything out there that captured the thrilling experience of unwrapping a gift, but with no waste. And there wasn't anything like it. So I knew that there was a sound consumer insight, which I had a lot of background on identifying the consumer insight, who your target is, how you start setting it up, what your positioning is, how you're differentiated. So that background in brand management really helped a lot with that. But it took until I really could focus on it. It was too hard to do it while I had another full-time job. So until I could really focus on it, then I started the launch period. So I started with competitive research in some very informal consumer qualitatives.
Okay, and what did you find when you did the competitive research?
I found there were products, I like to call them like pillowcases, where you throw the present in and you have the drawstring, or there were some really beautiful scarf type things where you have the box and then you wrap it in the scarf and the scarf is tied to the package. But nothing that tapped into that sensorial experience. You sound, the feel, the unwrapping, all those different pieces of doing a gift. So I thought there's something there.
Right. So when you're researching this, what was the next step that you took when you decided to do this full time? You've done the research now. You're moving forward. Did you draw it up yourself? Did you design it?
I started with, again, the consumer insight. Originally, my target was boys and girls, let's say 2 to 6 years old, moms of boys and girls 2 to 6 years old. I looked at different fabrics at Joann Fabrics. I tried taking several sewing classes so I could make a prototype myself. Very quickly, I realized I wouldn't have the capability. So I worked with a local Chicago manufacturer to help develop the prototype.
Okay.
Just kind of the first things that I did. I also made sure and set up what my positioning was going to be, my differentiator, kind of what my long-term strategy was going to be, which I felt was important because there's always all these bumps and, different paths you can take, and you get so much feedback along the way. So I want to make sure I was going to stay true to what I thought was the differentiator and what this product stood for.
Okay, and so the differentiator is that it's reusable, that it's eco-friendly, and it's cute that you can kind of gift it forward. So is that how you...
And sensorial.
The sensorial, right. Okay, so you had mentioned when we talked previously that you started really with, you didn't have a product vision specifically at first, you just had the insight and you kind of wanted to simulate the opening of presents. So tell me a little bit about, you went to Nordstrom's and you got a gift box.
Yep, and I got every size that they had.
Okay.
And you're right. So when I started with the consumer insight, I had no idea if it was going to be a box or a bag or if it was going to have ribbon or Velcro or eco-chic tissue paper. And I think that was just going to every cute paper store, paper source, paper doll, Nordstrom's, and seeing what they had. And I really thought there was something very unique in the gift box idea. Mm-hmm. I remember just ripping open the paper and all the different layers. So I thought there was something very unique and fun about actually giving a fabric gift box that has the sturdiness of a box, but it is all fabric.
Right. Okay. Second is to manufacturing. How many prototypes did you have made? Because you have you have Velcro on there, you have a ribbon, you have a lot of different elements to your product. How many different prototypes did you have made before you got the final one?
Oh my goodness, probably a dozen.
Wow.
Prototypes.
Okay.
So what I started with, for example, they kept on trying to push cardboard. I didn't want cardboard. I didn't feel like that would be able to be gifted forward and forward. They pushed polyester because polyester is much cheaper. I just didn't feel polyester was a fit with my green. I really wanted the look and feel of a cotton. And I had to source all of the materials for them to do the prototype development as well. So the prototype development took 6 months.
Okay, wow. So you had to source all the materials. So you're saying by that you mean you had to get the ribbon someplace?
The ribbon, the Velcro, the cellophane, every piece of it, the tags, everything.
So what do you do when you do that? When you have to source it yourself, do you bring it all into your house or you send it directly to the manufacturer?
I had it all shipped here and then I brought it over to the manufacturer because they were located in Chicago. For the fabric patterns, I hired a graphic designer, and I had a vision of what I wanted for the different occasions. So I had started off with the boys, girls. After I'd done some additional research, wedding showers, baby showers, and Christmas were other big gift-giving occasions where they'd want something really special and add on a unique touch to the gift. So I added on there. And then I worked with the graphic designer back and forth. And then the manufacturer had capabilities to be able to do their own fabrics.
Do you have to pay for each prototype that you get?
You pay by the hour. It probably depends on every manufacturer, but for this particular, I paid the pattern maker by the hour and the manufacturer and her boss, the lead manufacturer, by the hour as well.
Okay, so interesting. So you don't pay for each prototype. Each time you source the materials and you bring it over to your manufacturer, and they make a prototype from it. They don't charge you per prototype. They charge you per how many hours go into putting together the prototype.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, very interesting. Okay, so so are you self-funded? How did you estimate all this would cost? Did you do a formal business plan?
I did do the one-page business plan with several Excel sheets attached to it. It was self-funding, so I didn't have to do a pitch to an angel investor or anything like that. Which was really nice. I think that would have been much more complicated. But I tried to lay out all the costs to make sure what I could anticipate in the next couple of years. Costs are always more than you anticipate, whether it's prototype development, legal fees. All those pieces are usually more than you anticipate. But I feel like I did a pretty good job of getting a range.
Okay. So did you pad your spreadsheet? Because I
did a high-low, yeah. So
okay.
I did a low, kind of a minimum. And every time before I met with a lawyer or the first time I met with the manufacturer, those were all free meetings. So I took it my advantage. I asked 80 million questions. And, I made sure and say about what is your minimum hours and what are the maximum hours you think this is going to be.
Okay, that's
And
good.
then I use those to feed my sheep for my business
Great.
expenses.
Well, that's helpful. Okay, so let's go more. I want to go a little bit more in depth now on defining your brand. You have a very strong background in that. A lot of thought went into your brand. Tell us kind of some research. You had mentioned to me before that you went to a gift show in Chicago and started getting feedback from them before you did anything else. Is that right? Am I jumping ahead here?
My background, because I did a lot of selling into retailers, mostly mass merchants, but I went to 25 retailers in Chicago and 5 retailers in Michigan. I did an informal focus group, and then I did a quantitative study of about 200 women. And I found that to be the most useful thing that I did. Very cheap, pretty much free. You can do the survey online for free. The focus groups just have wine and cheese and have friends of friends come to get honest, good feedback. I did the moderating myself, but you could certainly hire someone to do that. And the retailer feedback was fantastic. Since I had worked with big merchandisers and I had these big Suave and Dove, these big brands behind me, I wasn't used to going in and selling in my own product without that. And I felt, I think, again, I had always stayed true to what my mission was and what are the key things, what I say the deal breakers were. So, for example, everyone has an opinion on a design or a pattern, or people are going to have an opinion on the size of your logo or this or that. But what are the things that you want to stay true to? And I started hearing very consistent feedback from retailers and moms that presents for girls and boys when they have 20 birthday parties in a year and they're spending $25 to $35 on a gift, they weren't interested in buying this type of present. My son would never appreciate this, or I buy so many birthday presents throughout the year for my friends, my daughter's friends at school, that I really don't need it for that. But what I did hear is, I'd love that for my mom, or this would be a perfect start of a family tradition, or I have a frame or a gift card for a girlfriend and I really want to make it unique, or I'm going to a baby shower and I'd love people to see this really unique, fun present to open, because opening the present's the best part of the shower. So those were the things that I started doing qualitatively. And then on the retail side, they were saying things more like, we like the elegant, unique, chic designs. We do not like the cutesy designs. So, for example, my boys and girls designs were more cutesy. So I completely dropped 2 designs just from getting that feedback from retailers and consumers.
Wow, that's interesting. How did you know to go with that? Was it just an overwhelming majority felt the same way and you thought, okay, I'm getting enough? At what point do you say, well, 5 people told me this, I guess I should do these ones? Or did you say, like, 50 people told me this? How did you decide the factor?
I think you just go with your gut on some of those. If I have 3 retailers, boutiques I really trust in Chicago, and 1 in Michigan that I really trusted that was giving me consistent feedback, these are the people that know what's going to sell or not. I thought that was really consistent. And mom saying, I like this pattern, but I'm not sure I'm going to use it. Or this would be good for someone else. I heard enough of that when I was coming to those 2 patterns that said, my gosh, I'm glad. I don't want this inventory. I don't want to sit on it. No one's going to buy it. Why am I going to do it?
Okay, interesting. And so how many patterns did you ultimately decide on bringing to market?
I started with 3. I've got the flowers, the owls,
Okay,
you can see it, and the cupcakes. And I'm launching my Christmas this fall.
Okay, great. I noticed on your website, which is what's interesting, I think, about your design is, I thought, okay, when I first went, your website's beautiful, everything's very crisp, you could tell exactly what it is, so that's good. And just from a consumer perspective, obviously I'm not an expert in design, but I thought it was interesting. When I first came, I thought, well, how am I going to know what fits into each box? And I like how, you have not only the physical dimensions of the box, but that's sometimes hard to tell too, but it says, here's what fits in each box. I thought that was really clever. So did you think through everything that you were going to do on your website of how you were going to explain the product before you put the website up, or did you do pieces little by little?
I think for websites, I used outside inspiration. So I looked at what Disney does on their website, what Apple does on their website, and the sizing question came up a lot in my qualitative focus groups.
Okay.
So I heard a lot from moms. I just don't know what size I'm going to get, but I don't know what that means. What does 8.5 by 11 mean? What does 10 by 13 mean? So that was really helpful. So I said, well, I use one consistent thing. If I say DVDs, 3 DVDs, 10 DVDs, and 25 DVDs, does that give you a sense? And they said, absolutely. They like the comparison. And they also wanted me to include often gifts they give. So like a photo album and a picture frame and things like that. So.
Okay, great. So the quantitative study, so for somebody who's not familiar with this or knows of quantitative studies, how exactly did you do it? What was the process? You said you used a survey. So did you just find an online survey? How many questions did you include? Can you talk a little bit more details about that?
Sure. For doing this survey, I would recommend doing it after you've done the qualitative research, after you've done some of the retail visits or whatever upfront research, the competitive research. You really want to limit it to about 20 to 25 questions at the most.
Okay.
And you want to be able to make a decision from that data. So if you're not going to make a decision from a piece of information, I wouldn't include it. So for example, I was still kind of vacillating between should I offer it to boys and girls. So I spent 3 questions on that. I had a lot of questions on pricing. So I spent a couple questions on that. I had some questions on the occasions that they would give this for. Christmas was more popular, or wedding showers, or baby showers. I also wanted to make sure to really understand the eco-aware mom, like what some of her habits were in recycling and a couple of those things. So I really thought through what are my 20 most important questions, and then I made it so easy for her to answer. I tested it on myself, made sure she could finish it in 3 to 5 minutes, and then I tested it out on like 5 other people that had never looked at the survey. So for example, make sure they can check on everything as opposed to doing open-ended. And if you have an open-ended question or a question that you want more specific information on, limit it to 1. So I really thought through what are my holes in information, what am I going to use this for, and then I built the survey as easily to follow, have a few eyes look at it of people that aren't as familiar with your product, just because you become so close to it.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice. And then how did you find the 200 participants to do it?
I just leveraged my network of moms mostly, so my college friends, my friends from MBA, my work friends, and had them forward it to their other friends as well. And then in all the survey, which is really easy, most of them are free, Survey Monkey or Question Pro or Survey Quote. But you can set up front the demographics to make sure that everyone's meeting. So, for example, it had to be a woman because that's really who my target is. Yeah. I was really talking to the eco-aware mom. Mm-hmm. So those were my first couple questions. Anyone that didn't meet that, then they were said, thank you for your time. You're all done with it. And the other ones, the people that met my target continued with the survey.
Okay, interesting. So were you just able to promote that via a link then through Facebook or email?
Facebook. Absolutely. Facebook, email. My husband asked a bunch of the girls that he worked with as well. So, because you really want to get a sample size of at least 200 to 300 to have any meaning. And the great thing, even though these services are free, they'll do all the tabulations for you. So the statistical significance, you don't have to worry about any of it. It's fantastic.
That's great. How long did it take to get those results? Did you put an end date on it for people to fill it out?
I did. I kept the survey open for 2 weeks. I got 90% of the responses within the first week. So, you don't want to keep it open too long. And then they tabulate the results within a couple days.
Okay. And what was your biggest finding from that?
One of my biggest findings was my pricing was, I wasn't sure what my pricing was. And for my target, for the sentimental, unique gifts that they were looking for, they were open to the pricing that I offered, which was very helpful, even though pricing is obviously very difficult to do in a quantitative or qualitative study. And the second was the retailers and the qualitative feedback I had gotten before on the kids, the girls and boys, was spot on. People were interested in buying this for their mom, for their girlfriends, for baby showers, wedding showers. They were not as interested in getting this for kids' occasions. So it confirmed what I thought, even though that originally that was my core target going after, but it confirmed what I had been hearing, and so I was able to drop those, which is good because I had 2 less designs to worry about inventory on.
Right. No, that's great. It saved you money, it saved you time, and now you can just focus on what's selling. I want to talk to you a little bit about your logo. You used a crowd sourcing site for this. So tell us about that process and kind of how much that costs and what you got from that.
Great. Okay, wait, I'm assuming you can show the logo so they can see.
Yes.
So I use a service called CrowdSpring. There's a lot of different design services, but crowdsourcing is fantastic if you have a very clear brief of what you want. So I knew I love design work, and I knew exactly what I wanted. You can include like a visionary board of logos that you like or brands that you like for inspiration for the designers. I ended up getting 35 unique designers that each gave about 5 or 6 designs. So I had about 150 designs. I would say 35 very unique directions. And I would say from the start to the end, it was about 2 weeks to getting my logo. I had a very easy, great experience, and it was about $500, which is I would say very low for coming up with a logo that I was really, really happy with. I wanted something that communicated green, fun, whimsical. The G is like a G for gifted green, and it also looks like a present, and then the leaf on top is supposed to be the green element. So I think it worked really well, and I would not use it for a website where you really need that back and forth maybe, but I think if you have like a logo or maybe a fabric design very specific of what you want, I was very happy with the crowdsourcing, and it was very reasonable.
That's great. I don't know too many people who have used it, so that's a good resource for people that are looking to do things a little bit less. And what types of things do you feel like because of your background you knew very specifically what you wanted, or did you just feel like you knew what you had the vision for your company and knew what you wanted?
I think my background definitely helped, but I think as an entrepreneur, you know your business better than anyone. So I think if you can put in a brief or show examples of things you like and be as clear with the designers as possible, that really helps. And you put in what price you're willing to pay, and you only pay if you choose the design.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about how do you use social media. Let's move into that realm.
So social media, I haven't had as much time as I want to. I'm sure you hear this from a lot of people to develop to the social media. But an easy way is to link your Facebook page to your business website. And that's super, super easy. And I've had several people tell me I had to set up a Twitter page. So I did set up the Twitter page. I will say I've found Twitter very helpful from a B2B perspective, business-to-business perspective. For example, I'll say, I'll follow some people, and I've had a couple mommy bloggers that have featured me just because I had a Twitter page, which I wouldn't have gotten that PR if not.
Great.
What's leading to sales or not. But
right.
It seems really helpful. All press in the beginning is helpful for new businesses.
Right, and you just launched, right, a few months ago?
Yeah, I just launched a month ago.
Yeah, so we won't go fully into sales and distribution, but is there anything that you want to, how are you starting to get your first customers?
Well, pounding the pavement, setting up appointments, sending them feedback, sending them sample. I'm doing a gift show at the Chicago Merchandise Mart. I did a consumer trade show at the Navy Pier for the Green Festival. Just getting the word out there as much as possible has been really helpful so far.
Okay, so where are you going with this? You want to get into boutiques and retail stores? Are you in any boutiques right now?
Yes, I'm just in a few right now, and my idea is that I would be in several boutiques across the country, and then hopefully have them online as well, have my online sales.
Okay, great. And what are you doing to go about press? Are you going to hire a PR firm?
I am going to hire a PR person.
Okay. What is your grand vision? What does the future hold for Gifted Green?
Well, I kept the brand Gifted Green, so it could be a big thing. So it could be all things gifting that has more of a green lens. So making opening presents as fun as it should be, but trying to avoid waste as much as possible. And I think it's about taking those tiny little steps every day to make the world a little bit better place for our kids.
Yeah, that's right on your homepage that, I might get this wrong, but everybody that opens 3 gifts a day, like for Christmas, that waste can cover 450,000 football fields. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible. You have some interesting statistics that make you think, okay, this is great. Everyone's opening presents in one day. What happens with all that? And we didn't even go into depth, but I really love the idea of how you have the crinkly tissue paper. You've put a lot of thought into this. I wish you a lot of success. I want to end it with What advice would you give somebody starting out? Parting wisdom now that you've been through this entire process.
I would say take a lot of time up front to really think through the strategy before you dive into the detail too much. What are your deal breakers that you absolutely have to stay true to? So, for example, on mine it was this box has to still be gifted forward. So I've had people approach me and say, well, can I put my brand on the ribbon, or can you do a custom fabric pattern with my brand? And I said no, because then it can't be gifted forward. So that's a deal breaker for me, for example. And trying to do everything I can to be as eco-responsible as possible through my business is another thing that I try and live the mission as well. So whatever your strategy is up front, just stay really consistent through that. And then your website, how you approach retailers, everything around that, your packaging, your logo, and then it's much better to be consistent.
Great. Well, thank you. We can end with those great tips. So